Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to Wednesday Inspiration from North Congregational Church in Farmington Hills, Michigan for November the 9th, 2022. So, this is the day after an election that was just full of contention. It was full of argument. It was full of opposition. It was full of people demonizing their opponents instead of discussing issues and ideas. It was full of a lot of emotion and not as much thought and reflection. And in one respect, I'm just glad it's over because now I can turn on my TV without hearing attack ads. And in another sense, our work has just begun. Not only the work um, of the actual political parties, but also our work as people of faith, trying to somehow work on behalf of God's will for this world. And so perhaps it's a good time to be coming close to the end now of our series on the attributes of love that Paul discusses to the Corinthians in his letter, 1 Corinthians 13. I'm going to be reading this today from the contemporary or the Common English Bible. We've had a whole bouquet of different translations. And I'm going to back up and start with chapter 13, verse 1, because I think that it's important for us on this day, in this moment, to hear what Paul is saying about doing all the right things, but not having a spirit of love in our hearts that allows us to actually will the right things and really see the transformation that love can bring. So Paul starts out talking to the contentious Corinthian church, where they were fighting about who was more important and who was more gifted and who deserved to have the better seats at communion and all kinds of things that we can 100% relate to. And this section is called Love, the Universal Spiritual Gift. If I speak in tongues of human beings and of angels, but I don't have love, I'm a clanging gong or a clashing cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and I know all the mysteries and everything else, and if I have such a complete faith that I can move mountains, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I give away everything that I have and hand over my own body as a sacrifice to feel good about what I've done, but I don't have love, I receive no benefit whatsoever. And then he goes into what is it love? What is love? How will you know it's love? What does love look like? And that's the list we've been working our way through this fall. Love is patient. Love is kind. It isn't jealous. It doesn't brag. It isn't arrogant. It isn't rude. It doesn't seek its own advantage. It isn't irritable. It doesn't keep a record of complaints. It isn't happy with injustice, but is happy with the truth. Love puts up with all things, trusts in all things, hopes for all things, endures all things. Love never fails. So today we're going to be thinking about that whole statement that love does not rejoice in wrong, but rejoices in the truth, or as this translation puts it, it isn't happy with injustice, but is happy with the truth. And I'm thought hard about examples to use because we know that we all have moments where the schadenfreude gets to us, where we are kind of happy to see someone else fail, to be the fall guy. And I'm not talking about sports competitions, although even that has some of it, right? There's winners and losers. It is when we are tempted to think about someone else's being as a loser, or someone else's being as evil, or what someone did that was wrong as being somehow right or funny. And my mind kept going back to my discomfort with that very popular movie that I've watched a million times, and probably so have you, Home Alone. It's coming into Christmas. This is kind of a Christmas-themed movie. You'll remember, if you haven't watched it, well, you could decide after this if you want to. A little boy who is really kind of a pill. Actually, he's a terrific pill. He's an enormous pill. He's a very spoiled little guy. Accidentally, truly accidentally, gets left behind when his whole family, his extended family, goes on a family vacation to Paris. And so he is suddenly stuck in this house alone and trying to figure out how to get along, how to survive. And he starts out super happy that he's rid of all those idiots and those stupid brothers and sisters and relatives. But of course, he ends up having some difficulties. One of them is that in that neighborhood during the holidays, there's a theft ring. They call themselves the Wet Bandits. They go in and they not only rob houses of people gone on vacation, but then they turn on the water and leave the water running to just damage and destroy everything. And these guys are after a choice piece of house to rob, like the Home Alone house, like the house that this little boy lives in. And so he, realizing this, begins to develop a whole set of plans to teach them their lesson. And what follows is a whole sequence of people getting hit in the head with irons and burning their hands and getting scarred, and people practically getting their eyes put out and getting knocked down and getting clobbered, and so many other things. And we would watch it and my kids would laugh and I would feel so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. First of all, uncomfortable about this little boy getting left alone. Just could not get over that. How could this happen? How could this be? But more importantly, feeling like a bad person because I was laughing at a calamity that happened to someone else, something I would never want to have happen to me or to any of my family. And there's a lot of humor like this. It's not a new thing. It's probably as old as the human race. But it's a difficult thing, right? It's a difficult thing when we find ourselves tempted to rejoice in the harm done to someone else, to laugh at calamity, to be glad that someone has been harmed and we have not been. It's okay to feel like, oh, phew, I missed that one. It's not so okay to be like, well, I'm glad this person got it right between the eyes. And that's the thing about Home Alone. There's another part of the plot where this little boy's actions begin to bring together a very estranged family from each other. And in the end, his family realizes they come home and he's learned his lesson and all of those things. And the wet bandits get caught and they get taken to jail and everything kind of gets wrapped up. But I will never, ever feel comfortable in all those scenes of the punishments and everything else, because love, what it is to love, even really difficult people, even the little Kevin, the bratty little child, love is not happy with injustice. It's happy with the truth. So, how can we be happy with truth instead of injustice in our world? How can we look at things and celebrate that which is good and right and true, and then to say we need to look differently at the things that aren't? We need to stop saying, oh, thank goodness I'm not like those other people, and instead say, how can I care for them? We need to not say, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen to me, but instead to say, I'm sorry that happened to you. How can I help? We need to find ways that we can be with people without depreciating their experiences. Um, Even when they're telling you something and you're thinking, well, I'm really glad I don't have that. Let that be in your thought bubble. Don't say that out loud. That's not loving. It is not loving to keep record of wrongs. It's not loving to hold grudges, but it's also not loving to celebrate the injury or the destruction or the depreciation or anything else of another human being. And that's, I mean, so many jokes get told and you laugh and then you're really embarrassed. And you should be. I should be. We all should be, that we laugh at these things. We need to help ourselves and others remember that every human being has worth and value. That is what Jesus came to teach us. That is what Paul is saying to the Corinthian church. Just because these other people come in and they're your servants or they're dirty from the work they do and you think that you are above it all does not mean that you cannot and should not be serving them at communion, that you should not see them as your brothers and sisters. And so we're going to always have to work on that, aren't we? We're always going to have to learn, as Jesus taught in this example where the rich man, the Pharisee, went up to the temple and said, thank you, God, that you have made me faithful and you have made me good. And I'm not like that poor, horrible, wretched tax collector over there, that sinner. And the tax collector went up to the temple and said, Lord, have mercy on me, a sinner. And Jesus said to his followers, two men went to the temple and one went away justified. Which one? Obviously, it's not the one who rejoiced in the wrongs, rejoiced in the sense of superiority, rejoiced in somehow the depreciation of the other, but rather the one who recognized the things that he has done wrong and asks God to help correct them. So I'm not trying to be a buzzkill for watching Home Alone this Christmas season. It still is a funny movie, but remembering how hard it can be and squirming with real pain when you see people being depreciated is something that I think we need to acknowledge and recognize. I think sometimes we laugh because we're embarrassed. We laugh because our feelings are so strong. We laugh because we're so relieved that this thing hasn't happened to us. But how instead could we show love and care for all of God's people? The good news in all this is Jesus has shown us how. Jesus has taught us how to love our neighbors as ourselves, to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And so if we can keep ourselves on that path and moving back onto that path whenever we stray, saying instead of, oh, thank goodness I'm not horrible like them, but instead saying, Lord, have mercy on me, we will have begun to walk on the path of wisdom. We'll be walking the path of love. So the music that I have today is the hymn, If You But Trust in God to Guide You. And the words end with the God will not fail to bless those who reach out in faithfulness. So let's think about the ways that we can stop looking down on other people, stop rejoicing in wrongdoing, stop feeling like it was great we got away with something, and instead look at the ways that we could work to lift up one another in all places and in all things. And then we will be back for a time of prayer. As always, so glad for Pat's work on the organ, the ways that she brings so much to our worship at North Congregational Church when she plays the piano or the organ, either as an accompaniment or like this as a standalone piece. So thanks, Pat. All right, now that we've heard about how it is to be loving, let us pray. Oh, gracious God, in love you created the world. In love you created each of us and proclaimed us good. And in love you sustain us even when we turn away from you, even when we are not very loving ourselves. And so we ask you to guide us, O God, into the paths of justice and mercy and help us to walk humbly with you, not rejoicing in the pratfalls and the mistakes and the wrongdoings of others, but instead rejoicing in the truth, rejoicing in the things that we know to be true, that the world is made for love, that we are made for the sake of one another, that we are given the opportunity to care for one another, that loving each other as we love ourselves is something that is both complicated and easy. So God, help us to do that. Help us to love one another, not with the self-criticism that we may direct at ourselves, not with the sometimes the difficulty that we have with our own selves, but instead that we may see ourselves and others through your eyes as possibilities, as people who are being grown into our fullness in the life of faith, as people who have the opportunity to share with others the good news that we are all capable of fresh starts, of new beginnings, that even when we do rejoice in evil, we can draw back from that and again rejoice in the truth. And the truth is this, that before we were ever good, you loved us enough to live among us, to die, and then to be resurrected, to show that love is stronger than death, that love is stronger than anything that hate can throw at it. When we feel like our love is faltering, God, strengthen us. When we look at others and we tend to pity them, make sure that that pity turns into constructive love instead of just a sense of self-importance. Help us take care for the people whom we find in our way, the people who are hungry, the people who are homeless, the people who are helpless, the people who are hopeless. Help us to sit with the sick. Help us to hear the bad news that may come in receptive love and loving kindness for the person instead of in a sense of being relieved that the bad things haven't happened to us. Remind us that our prayer is that you will bring us through the difficult times, not that you will spare us those times. And so, oh God, strengthen us, strengthen our faith, strengthen our hearts and souls and minds. Strengthen us when we are well, strengthen us when we are sick. Strengthen us in the jobs that we have to do that we rejoice in doing, like caring for children or grandchildren. Strengthen us in the times when it is more difficult, to deal with a difficult relative, to confront a challenging situation, to stand up for someone in a situation of injustice. God, Jesus told us that we would struggle, that we would find it difficult, that we would try and fail and try again. So help us not to be unloving towards ourselves in that trying and failing, but instead increase our faith, increase our hope, increase our love so that we may be abundant in all three, but especially in love. Take care of the people whom we love and the people we don't know, the people we don't know if we love or not. Take care even of the people that we feel we might not love at all. And instead help us to open our hearts and our minds to the eternal and utter graciousness of your love. The way that you love us no matter what, the way that you pick us up and return us over and over again. Forgive us, have mercy on us, and show us the path to walk in, the path shown to us by Jesus, who taught us how to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Among the many ways that you can celebrate both the cause of love and begin to lift up the cause of justice, mercy, and humility is to help support North Church and its ministries. You can go to our website, northcongregationalchurch.org, and see how to contribute or to make an ongoing pledge of support for our ministries of feeding the hungry, housing the homeless, clothing the naked, caring for the poor, offering mental health care, offering love and care to our world. We would love it if you do. We would love it if you visit us. And we would love it especially during the holiday season if you will join us for all the various programs and studies that we're going to have, both online and in person. And there will be more news about that on our website and also coming to those who are on our church email list. If you're not, you can send a request to North Congregational Church, ncc.churchoffice@gmail.com, and we will put you on, and you can discover all the many things that we are doing to live and love in the light of God's love for all of us. And so until we meet again, God be with you.